We're back in Fort Wayne at one of the nation's more underrated zoos. Although, try telling that to the locals, because this place is packed every time I visit. We've already toured the random, but still fun Zoo Central, and walked through the Aussie Outback in the Australian Adventure. And now, we'll be exploring the zoo's newly rebranded Asian region. For nearly 30 years, the Indonesian Rainforest has been one of the top attractions at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo. But in 2023, the zoo combined it with the brand new Red Panda Ridge, giving this rainforest voyage a splash of the Central Asian highlands. So today, we'll see the new and the old, the adorable and the ferocious, all in the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo's new Asian Trek. Midway through the zoo's central region, the trail branches off, offering you a portal to another adventure. As you ascend a small hillside, perched above you is a first glimpse of the zoo's newest big addition. After winding your way to the top, you're properly welcomed to the Red Panda Ridge, a simple loop that wraps around a still developing bamboo forest, giving guests a taste of Central Asia. First up on the left is a simple but well-furnished aviary for Victoria crowned pigeons, white-eared pheasants, and the red-billed blue magpie, an intelligent member of the corvid family that is known for its mimicry of other species' calls. Straight ahead is a taller, caged habitat that reminds me of those found in the zoo's African journey. In here you'll find the area's namesake, red pandas Anne and Aurora. Anne came to Fort Wayne from the Greenville Zoo in 2020, while Aurora arrived last winter to be part of this new complex. Red pandas are arboreal specialists. Their many special adaptations include flexible ankles, which can rotate to help them climb down surfaces headfirst, as demonstrated here. I mentioned before that red pandas were discovered before the giant panda, and thus were the first animal to be given that name. And it actually wasn't even close. 50 years before the giant panda became known to Western scientists, a French zoologist laid eyes on a red panda, describing it as the most beautiful animal he had ever seen. While the red pandas climb above your head, romping around on the ground, look for Zoji the Reeves Muntjac. Nicknamed the barking deer due to their dog-like vocalizations, this small solitary deer is native to China and Taiwan. The Reeves Muntjac is credited as the oldest known extant species of deer, with fossils dating back at least 15 million years. Male muntjacs, like Zoji here, have large canine teeth that they use for fighting. With so many species facing the threat of extinction, it's nice to report that the Reeves Muntjac is currently listed as least concern, and has even become an invasive species in several parts of the world. But the Red Panda Ridge doesn't end there. Down the path is a large viewing shelter with open-air viewing into a second red panda habitat, with an elevated climbing structure that brings the red pandas up to your eye line. In here you'll find Paula and Fayera, who also arrived earlier this year for the ridge's opening. The Red Panda Ridge is not just home to red pandas, but actually two species of red panda. Anne and Aurora are Himalayan red pandas, while this mother-daughter duo are Chinese red pandas. So what's the difference? Well, there isn't many, but the Himalayan red pandas have more white coloration on their face, while Chinese red pandas have more red, as well as more distinct rings on their tail. If you find this many red pandas active at the same time, consider yourself lucky, since they spend up to 17 hours a day sleeping, and trust me, this footage didn't come easy. I made 4 trips through the Red Panda Ridge before I finally caught them active at the end of the day. As you exit out of the Red Panda Ridge, you pass under colorful depictions of the animals you just saw in the style of Tibetan prayer flags, which nicely ties together this new sub-attraction, bringing a touch of Central Asian culture to Indiana. Our voyage now goes south, to the tropical islands of Southeast Asia, represented by the Indonesian Rainforest, which greets you with Indonesian-inspired architecture where you can pause to learn about the culture and people of the region. Passing through to the other side is one of the rainforest's newer habitats, which was refurbished in 2019 for the Clouded Leopard, the zoo's new hide-and-seek champion. Since in my 5 visits since their arrival, this is all the footage I have. So if you want to learn more about these gorgeous felines, click on the card above. Until recently, these doors would have brought you into Dr. Diversity's research station, until it was completely overhauled for the zoo's 2022 season. Out the door went the research station theming, a number of smaller exhibits, and even an elephant skeleton, in favor of a simpler jungle design with just 5 appreciatively larger habitats. On the right from the entrance are 3 tanks that house 3 species of Asian turtles, with 2 of the 3 also featuring the arboreal red-tailed green rat snake. Their affinity for climbing high in trees is coupled with an impressive ability to catch birds and bats in mid-flight. Although they are non-venomous, these rat snakes will puff up in an attempt to imitate a venomous pit viper and bluff their way through a confrontation. You may notice if you visit that the red tail part of the snake's name isn't always true, since the tail can also be magenta or gray in color. While snakes may not be the first animal that comes to mind when you think of poaching, these shiny green serpents have been hunted for their skins and for the use of their body parts in medicine, but fortunately more restrictions have been put in place to protect the green rat snake, and they are still considered a species of least concern. Moving to the back wall of the building is the northern tree shrew. More specifically, Fort Wayne is home to female gherkin. But what exactly is a tree shrew? Well, scientists have had a tough time deciding. They aren't true shrews, but were first placed in the order Insectivora before that order was abandoned altogether. Then, believe it or not, for 50 years they were considered to be the world's most primitive primates. But eventually scientists decided that wasn't right either, and as of now they are given their own unique order. So, to summarize, a tree shrew is not a rodent, it's not a primate, it's not even a shrew. A tree shrew is simply a tree shrew. Now that we've sorted that out, we can move to the Rainforest Room's final and most impressive inhabitant, Bo, a 20-year-old reticulated python, who I was lucky enough to catch moving around a few years ago when he was still in his old exhibit located where the tree shrew is now. The reticulated python holds the title as the longest snake in the world, with the longest ever recorded being over 32 feet when it was measured in Indonesia in 1912. These pythons get their name from their distinctive patterns, which are unique to each individual and help them camouflage in their forest homes. Reticulated pythons are nocturnal ambush predators, preying on mammals as small as rodents to as large as a deer. They are also at home in the water and can strike from underneath the water's surface like a crocodile. The exit doors open up to give you a teasing preview of a tropical indoor atrium, before quickly shepherding you into the Orangutan Valley, where the dimly lit hallway is contrasted by the light from the simulated jungle home for the Indonesian Rainforest star family. Four critically endangered Sumatran orangutans, 37-year-old male Tengu and 38-year-old female Melody, have lived in Fort Wayne since the Orangutan Valley's opening in 1995, while 28-year-old female Tara joined them in 2013 and just over a year later gave birth to Asmara, who at almost 9 years old is still usually the most active in the group. An estimated 14,000 Sumatran orangutans remain in just 9 distinct populations within the wild rainforest of Sumatra. Orangutans are incredibly intelligent, and like other great apes are known for their use of tools, including using leaves to protect their hands while handling the pricklier varieties among the over 300 kinds of fruit that they feed on. Orangutans are well adapted for their mostly arboreal lifestyles, with opposable thumbs and toes, as well as their signature long arms, which are roughly 1.5 times the length of their legs. Wild orangutans rarely descend to the ground, which is why this is one of my favorite places to see orangutans, since the shallow pool on the floor keeps the world's heaviest tree-dwelling mammal up at our eye level, where sometimes they choose to sit up at the glass, creating lifelong memories like this. Exiting out of the Orangutan Valley is the piece of the Indonesian rainforest that truly transports you into the middle of these tropical jungle islands. At first, you may think the Rainforest Dome is completely devoid of animals, but if you look closely, you're sure to spot some feathered friends. There isn't a complete list of species, but I have seen crested wood partridges, Nicobar pigeons, the dramatically named Luzon bleeding heart. During the breeding season, male bleeding hearts will present their inflated chest to a female to proudly display their blood or heart marking. And usually the most entertaining is the green-naped pheasant pigeon. As I mentioned on another tour, pheasant pigeons are in fact pigeons, but are given their name because they evolved to fill the ecological niche of a small pheasant in their native forest of New Guinea. After winding your way through the jungle, you exit into a plaza home to the endangered species carousel, which was always a highlight of my visits as a kid, but nowadays I fast-tracked through the plaza to the tiger forest. Added to the Indonesian rainforest in 1996, the tiger forest was just remodeled to include a larger pool feature and open up the exhibit a bit, increasing your odds of seeing Inda and Bugara, a brother-sister duo of Sumatran tigers, who weren't really feeling the camera the day I filmed this area, and history shows they usually aren't. But luckily I did not only catch them awake a few years ago, but also captured my favorite ever experience watching tigers at a zoo. The Sumatran tiger can be differentiated from other tigers by their slightly darker orange coats with more frequent stripes, and the males in particular have larger mane-like ruffs around their necks. They are the last of Indonesia's tigers after the extinctions of the Bali and Javan tigers in the last century. The Sumatran tiger is hanging on for now, but has still seen its range shrink from much of western Indonesia to now only the island of Sumatra. Factors like deforestation, poaching, and the loss of their large prey have seen the Sumatran tiger population cut in half since 1985. An estimated 400 remain in the wild, and around 80 can be found in AZA zoos. So why did I say this was my favorite experience with tigers at a zoo? Well, it's the only time I've seen a tiger do this. The remainder of the Indonesian rainforest is an elevated boardwalk dubbed the Treetops Trail. Due to the removal of a few of the trail's original habitats, it is a somewhat lengthy walk before you reach a tall caged habitat that blends in nicely with the surrounding forest. Swinging through the trees is the endangered Javan Gibbon, who from a zoo enthusiast perspective could be considered the hidden gem of the Indonesian rainforest, since they are currently housed at just 3 facilities in the United States. If information still holds up, this family consists of male Lionel and female Diang, who arrived in 2010, and their 2 offspring Jaka and Sinta, both of whom were born here in Fort Wayne. Also called the Silvery Gibbon, Javan gibbons are found only in the rainforest on the island of Java. Unfortunately, an estimated 98% of their original habitat has been lost to deforestation, and the roughly 4,000 remaining Javan gibbons live in 21 disconnected remaining areas of forest. Last time we saw gibbons on a tour, they failed to show off their amazing brachiating abilities. But luckily, as you can see over my many visits, this quartet has been more cooperative with demonstrating those skills. That is, when they're not busy twirling on their rope swing, getting attention from their keepers, or occasionally showing off their signature booming calls. On the opposite side of the boardwalk is a similar habitat that was formerly home to Siamang gibbons, but for a while now has held the Wrinkled Hornbill. Like many birds, wrinkled hornbills are sexually dimorphic. The name wrinkled comes from the wrinkled appearance of the casque on top of their bills, which acts like a megaphone to amplify their loud calls. Wrinkled hornbills are monogamous for life. During the nesting season, the female will seal herself inside a hole in a tree using mud, droppings, and other materials, leaving only a small hole through which the male will bring food to feed her and their offspring. A process that the zoo's pair, Baiyu and Iyu, are very familiar with, since they have successfully raised multiple chicks together here at the zoo. From here on out, the habitats and the animals get smaller. Next up is the Prevost squirrel. Like our local squirrels, Prevost squirrels make a trill call when agitated, and will unleash an ear-piercing whistle as a warning call. These squirrels contribute to their native forest ecosystems by discarding seeds from the fruit that they feed on, which promotes seed dispersal. Their genus name, Caloscurius, means beautiful squirrel, which reflects the species' colorful coat patterns. Like the gibbons and hornbills, Fort Wayne has also seen the birth of Prevost squirrels in the past, with 2 born in 2018. The last habitat of this rainforest seems to rotate birds pretty regularly. In 2022, I saw the white-crested laughing thrush, but by 2023, they have been replaced with a lesser sulfur-crested cockatoo. And that brings us to the end of the trail for the new, but also kind of old, Asian Trek, meaning we've now covered 3 of the 4 exciting destinations at the Fort Wayne Children's Zoo, with the biggest and best saved for last. Let me know in the comments what you think of the new Red Panda Ridge and some of the other more recent changes to the Asian Trek. And don't miss this quick preview of our next tour, in which we'll journey through another rainforest on the other side of the world.